MDJ podcast. And what does that stand for?
Mr. DJ Podcast.
What's going on, YouTube? Back at you with another video. We back with podcast number 11, and I got two special guests here with me today. You guys go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nightline.
No, my name is. I didn't want to cut him off and stuff. Like,
no, my name is Julian Arroyo, aka Nightline84. I'm pretty sure some of y'all heard of me.
Cool.
Okay, period. And I'm Pickle Pop Radio, aka Gloria.
Cool. So I've done a Michael Jackson podcast before. The last time I did it was with a family member of mine, and he wasn't a fan, but I always thought that it'd be dope if I could basically do a podcast with fellow Michael Jackson fans. And before I talk about, my story of how I came to know Michael Jackson, over the years, or at least when I was a kid, I wanted to hear y'all's backstory as far as when you became fans and everything. Because I've actually never got that from y'all, so you guys can go ahead and tell me that.
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so let me see. Where do I start? Okay, my memory is terrible, so I'm just gonna go off of what I remember. When I first saw Michael, I believe I was maybe 7 or 8. Don't quote me. But it was the "You Rock My World" video, and I was like, "Mommy," I was like, "Who's that?" I was like, "Who is that?" Like, as a kid, I was just like so fascinated. And then my brother was a dancer at the time. He was younger than me. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not the age, but whatever. So my brother was younger than me, and we just became like so obsessed. And we did like a little reenactment of "The Way You Make Me Feel." So I my little self walking around, I had these little heels on, and I was like doing a little walk, like Tatiana. And then my brother, he could really dance. So we recorded it. Don't know what happened to it, but so that's when we first really started to get into him. But I know for me, I was just fascinated with "You Rock My World" music video when he was walking. I think it was behind the bar, and he kind of made himself seem like he was going down, and he was like doing this.
Oh yeah.
What is this guy doing? Like, I was just blown away, So that's how I really came into Michael. I mean, I could go forever about that, but so I'm gonna let Julian go.
Yeah, mine's a bit of a long one. Throughout my entire life, I've heard his name like a lot, but I never really bothered to ask, who exactly he was, because I wasn't really that type of a person. But I remember in kindergarten, this was around like a little bit after he died in 2009. I saw one of my friends, she started wearing these buttons, and it was like his face. And I remember it so vividly because like it was from the bad era, so he had like the long hair and stuff. So, and I remember asking like, "Oh, who's that girl?" Because he had long hair and a pretty face. So I was like, "Oh, who's that girl?" And she was like, "Oh, it's Michael Jackson." I was so surprised that it was a guy.
Right.
So yeah, she started talking a little bit about him, and then I remember teasing her a little bit more because of how he looked so much like a girl. But later that day, I remember asking my dad who he was, and later when I got home, he showed me some of his short films. And the very first short film he showed me, out of all short films actually, is Earth Song. That was the very first short film I saw, and the energy and the whole video itself really captivated me and really just captured my interest more to him a little bit more. I just remember him wanting to, I remember just wanting him to show me a lot more, and he did. And oh God, I just instantly became a fan after. And then it was around a good time as well, because around that time period, stuff like Captain EO and even the Michael Jackson The Experience game were coming around that time, and I begged my parents, to show me or to take me there. And I mean, I did get to see Captain EO, and I did have The Experience game. In fact, one of my earliest memories is me recording myself playing the game. So yeah, like it's a very like special moment in my life for sure.
Right.
And I mean, I will never forget it.
Nah, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. So for me, so you know, I don't know if you guys ever heard the electronic store or heard of the electronic store called The Wiz. Nobody Beats The Wiz. Y'all ever heard of that before?
No.
Y'all never heard of that before? Damn. All right. Well, basically, before there was a Best Buy, before there was a Target and all of that, there was an electronics store called The Wiz. And then the whole tagline was Nobody Beats The Wiz. So one day I was like maybe like 5, probably like 6 years old. I was like in kindergarten. So I was out with my dad one day, and in the store there was like a clearance section with like a whole bunch of albums in it, or like just a container with albums on albums. And he was like, just pick one. And I was like, all right. So mind you, I'm like 5, 6 years old. So then I see History. I see the History, you know, double album. And then I picked it because I was like, who is he? Mind you, you know, the statue, he's got like the cool military outfit on. So I wanted to know who he was. So then I bought it, and then my father bought it. And then I remember it came with a booklet that had like all like the pictures and shots of like all the short films and everything. So it had pictures of Thriller, had pictures of Smooth Criminal, Bad, almost everything. And then I used to take that everywhere with me. And then just, it was over after that. So then just, I got glued to his music. And then after that, there was michaeljackson.com. And that's the first time that I actually got to see his music videos and everything. And that was before there was YouTube. So before there was YouTube or none of that, you had to go to michaeljackson.com to watch his music videos and stuff like that. So that's when I saw Smooth Criminal. I saw the full version of Bad, Thriller, all of that. And then just, you know, I came to start, you know, learning how to dance and everything. And then just been a lifelong. So I've just been a lifelong fan. So I guess you could say like for 20 plus years, I've been a 20 plus year fan, you know what I mean? But I mean, you know, so it seems like everybody's, you know, experience with Michael Jackson initially was that they, you know, we were introduced like through family. So we always had like an older family member, brother, sister, father, who pretty much kind of put us on. And then we pretty much just took the torch and then just ran with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so one thing me and Julian talked about on my Twitch channel was Michael Jackson's film career, or lack thereof, like I like to say sometimes. And one of the things that I was telling him before was that if you remember, bro, we was talking about West Side Story. So So for me, I feel like so all three of us, we know that Michael Jackson didn't necessarily have the film career that he wanted to have. You know what I'm saying? Like to be honest with you, I think The Wiz was his first and last movie. And I'm talking about like a full length movie, not a short film. He's not portraying himself, because you don't see Michael when you see the Scarecrow. You see the Scarecrow. Right. You know what I'm saying? When we watch Captain Neo, we're pretty much watching Michael. When you watch Moonwalker, you're pretty much watching, you know, Michael. So for me, I felt like, you know, Michael needed a film like West Side Story. You know what I'm saying? Because when I think of Michael, I think of, you know, the older era movies like Singing in the Rain and give me another movie from the 30s and the 40s and 50s and things like that.
Oh,
kind of
I mean,
like, but
I'm like, I don't know.
it's not really like a musical, but I would have liked to see Michael even chime in on like something like Casablanca, or more like, you know,
I've never seen
not really about
before.
Oh yeah, it's like, you know, I think it was in the 40s, and it's pretty much like one of those old school movies and stuff. And it doesn't really talk. It's not really like dancing. It's more like actual acting. But I know Michael really was interested into that kind of stuff, and I feel like he could have done a film pretty much like that around the 1980s as well. Or even do films like in tribute to people like Charlie Chaplin, for example.
Right.
You
know,
know,
like a remake or something.
Three Stooges.
He needed like a good remake, or like you see how like today all they do is reboot movies. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like back then, I felt like, I mean, they rebooted The Wiz, so it wouldn't have hurt to give him, you know, one more. You know what I'm saying? Like just give him one. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I think West Side Story, a black version of West Side Story, even if he had a white
that would be dope.
That's what I'm saying. Even back then, I'm like, you know, remember I was saying that a homeless person would have found the money to go see that movie back then. That's a fact.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
Everybody, because the thing is, people were waiting for a film like that from Michael. You know what I'm saying? The reason why Prince was so big was because when Prince came out, like his coming out party was Purple Rain, but he had a movie to go with that. You know, Thriller was kind of that, but at the same time, it was only 13 minutes. You know, Purple Rain was a whole entire movie. So
right. Right.
Imagine a whole full-length movie of Thriller, like like a Zombie Land type
Ooh,
of
that's
thing.
interesting.
Oh my god, like that would
That's
be
interesting.
crazy.
They could have did it too. I think they could have did it. I don't know if you guys ever saw that interview that he did in 1999. I don't know if this was MTV. It might have been, but the interviewer asked him. He was like, did you guys intend for it to be a full movie? Because he was like, how it strikes people as like it could go on, like it could be a movie if it wanted to. And he said no. But I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like somebody, I think, what was the movie? I think it was. There's another movie about it's not Teen Wolf. What's that movie called?
American Werewolf in London.
No. It was with not the kid from not the kid from Mighty Ducks. I don't know, some white kid, but basically the poster of the movie is him wearing like a Thriller like jacket, but instead it's blue. So you know how it's red with yellow. His is blue with yellow. I'm not sure what.
You sure you're not talking? You sure you're not talking about Teen Wolf?
That I don't know.
I think that's Teen Wolf.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's got the kid. It's got the kid from Back to the Future, right?
Yeah.
That's
well, they
Teen
ended
Wolf,
up doing that anyway the year after that, because that came after Thriller. That didn't come before.
Yeah, it came out around the same time as Back to the Future as well.
So they ended up taking his idea anyway. You know what I'm saying? but I think that it's kind of sad that Michael didn't really have the film career that he did, because it's like he only did cameos and stuff like that. And no, I didn't even take Michael Jackson's cameo in Men in Black 2 seriously, because my mom took me to go see Men in Black 2, and then he's like, "Oh, Zed, what about the position you promised me in Men in Black? I could be Agent M." I was like, get out of here. I was like, yo,
right? Like they could have gave him something longer than that. I was like, what? Like 2 seconds?
It's like a side character or something,
right.
Like have him like come in there for like comedic relief. Like that would probably satisfy me personally.
Right.
But since we're talking about his film career, I guess we should also talk about a little bit more of the films that he could have been in, like Edward Scissorhands or even Hook. I think those were missed opportunities from both the directors and Michael himself. Yeah. Because Edward Scissorhands literally was Michael Jackson. It was literally a role meant for Michael Jackson, but instead it was given to Johnny Depp, I think. Yeah, Johnny Depp. I mean, Tim Burton, he's a man that usually makes movies that star people who are predominantly white. And Michael Jackson was, of course, a black man. So I feel like that could have been one of the reasons why. But yeah, honestly, I think that was a missed opportunity. And I think it could have been groundbreaking for both Tim Burton himself.
Absolutely.
And Hook. While I respect Michael's opinion for not doing Hook, that was a movie also made for him as well. Yeah. Literally, like a Peter Pan and Michael Jackson are literally the same ass person, bro.
All right.
And like the fact that he didn't do that, I respect his opinion. But
see, if you remember when we talked about it that night on Twitch, right? See, this is what the director's fear was, especially like post the 80s. And even back then, it was a situation where no matter what movie Michael did from Thriller onward, he would have been bigger than the movie.
Right.
Michael Jackson was no longer in the category of like an actor. You know what I'm saying? So if it's a director making his directorial debut, no one's going to think of the director at that point. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like they're going to be thinking about it's the Michael Jackson movie. So the entity of Michael Jackson would overshadow the character. So let's say if he did do Edward Scissorhands, right? People wouldn't look at him as unless like he killed it. I'm talking about some like Heath Ledger, you know what I'm saying, type acting, performance. But he had to have done a movie that pretty much was like Captain EO Moonwalker, where he had to portray himself, because that's not good for, like, from an acting standpoint, that's not good for the story. If you're like, let's say, so if you see me in a movie, right, I don't want you guys to feel like you're watching Dimitri or DJ. I want you guys to feel like you're watching the character. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if he did Edward Scissorhands, we're going to feel like we're watching Michael.
I don't know, man. I mean, it depends.
That's just how I feel.
Yeah, that's how you feel. Yeah, I know. And I respect that. At the end of the day, I mean, it's just something that probably just had to be made for us to, figure it out eventually. But I definitely understand where you're coming from and what you're saying, for sure.
You did give him a chance.
Yeah, because Tim Burton, even though he did the Batman film, and that was huge in '89. And I think he also did Nightmare Before Christmas, but that was a year later. But still, he was a bit of a newer director around that time. So I feel where you're coming from. I know where you're coming from when you're saying that.
So I wonder what happened with Spider-Man and why he didn't do that role.
I would not want Michael Jackson to do no goddamn Spider-Man. I'm sorry.
No.
I love Michael Jackson 2 pieces. Hell no. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm not.
no.
Because I would, mind you, Julian, you see me chew up Tom Holland. You know what I'm saying?
Saw that.
Needless to say about what I would say about Michael if he did Spider-Man. Because this is the thing, like, I think the only reason why that was even a thing was just the fact that Michael Jackson was trying to buy Marvel at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So obviously he's like, all right, if I'm going to buy it, if I'm going to own Marvel, then I'm going to make my own Spider-Man movie with me in it. I get that. I would do the same thing too. But at the same time, nah.
I mean, if he was gonna play as like a young Peter Parker, like if he was gonna play as like a kid Peter Parker, like no. I don't even think he would play. I don't even think he would do well as Spider-Man, anyways. You know.
That's what I'm saying. So, because
I don't think. I think he would.
Well, okay, why do you think that is? Why would you, Gloria, want to see?
Scene. I don't know if it was I don't know if it was the first Spider-Man or whatever. But it was a particular scene where he was in a bar. I think he was with Mary Jane, and he was doing a dancing scene. And I was like, wow. I was like, these are the moves that Michael does. Like, he literally was doing those moves. So I was like, that's just one part of it. But Michael, like, for example, if it was Bad Era or a little bit before it, Michael was very fit in tone in that era. So, I mean, I don't know. I just think he would have played the role good.
No.
You're talking about Spider-Man. You're talking about Spider-Man 3. That's literally like the worst. That's literally the most like joked on film in all Spider-Man films.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
wait, Spider-Man 3?
Spider-Man. Yeah, that scene that you're talking about with Tobey Maguire dancing.
Oh, that's so that scene is in Spider-Man 3. Mm-hmm. The one I described. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You wasn't doing no Michael Jackson moves. That's insult to Michael Jackson.
But the first few Spider-Man movies or whatever, those were good.
They were good.
Terrible.
No, yeah, the first Spider-Man 2 was like considered to be one of the greatest superhero films ever.
This is the thing. I don't think Michael Jackson would ever even want to let go of the image that comes with Michael Jackson. You think Michael Jackson would actually cut off his hair for a role? He probably wouldn't do it. He probably wouldn't even do that. Because Spider-Man and movies like that, they're what's like known as a character piece. So let's say The Wiz was a character piece that he did very well. Mm-hmm. He can't do no damn Peter Parker. He can't. Peter Parker, I'm just saying, like, and I love Michael Jackson. This is not a knock to Michael Jackson at all. But I would tell Michael Jackson if Michael Jackson came up to me tomorrow and was like, "So yeah, Dimitri, you know, I'm gonna be doing the next Spider-Man film." I would be like, Michael, no, cancel that. Nah, cancel.
Just give it to some kid, Michael. Come on.
Yeah, I'll give it to some kid. Michael, nah. Like, what would be cool? All right, like, what would be cool is, like, let's say if he did like a short film, and I hate to put him in that corner or to box him in that corner again, but like something that would play on the superhero aspect of a Spider-Man, but not Spider-Man himself.
So not the leading role of Spider-Man, you're saying?
Like, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so what leading role could you picture him playing?
Like
the neighbor, maybe. I don't know.
No. Like, let's say like he could have like worked in the Daily Bugle or something like that, and then he could have been good. He could have been the black guy that worked for Jonah Jameson, like the cool guy that knew that, like, every time he would look at Peter, like he kind of knew that Peter was Spider-Man, but he never really said anything. That sort. But then again, because Michael just would have to do like a Gone with the Wind, a West Side Story, a freaking. You know what I'm saying? Like a romantic comedy back in the day when people would have taken that seriously. Because Michael's bigger in the 90s than he was in the 80s. That's a fact. Mm-hmm. And I mean that in like a public sense, as to where like it's just astronomical. Like if you ever seen a DJ Vlad interview, he was saying that Michael Jackson was more famous than Jesus. And that's a fact.
Oh yeah.
Because there's certain parts of the world that people are not Christian or Catholic. You know what I'm saying? But they do listen to music, and they have heard of Michael Jackson. Facts.
That's true. Yeah, that is true.
But I think just Michael Jackson was just victim of his own fame, in a sense that, like, how look at Janet Jackson, for instance. She did a whole bunch of movies in her career. Mm-hmm. You know why? Mm-hmm. Because she wasn't that famous as to where they look at it as the Janet Jackson movie. Nah. Poetic Justice is not the Janet Jackson movie. It's Poetic Justice. It's her and Tupac. See what I'm saying? Right. Michael didn't have that leg room. He didn't have that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Yeah. Oh man, how do y'all feel about Michael Jackson possibly playing as Jar Jar Binks?
Ew. And what? Ew. Like
I'm about to Google it. You said what?
The big. So he's talking about if the big red thing, right? Well, like the big. He's got like the weird shaped head and the long face and all that.
Hold on, let's see if I can pull up a pic.
Yeah, you gotta show because I don't know nothing about this stuff.
You don't know Star Wars?
No, what? No, I'm a girl. I don't really know too much about all of this.
Yeah, this is Jar Jar Binks.
Ew, that's what I'm saying. Yo, like I would
no,
not, because so that would entail Michael just being his voice. So Michael could, I can see that he can do the voice, like he could be a voice actor. Yeah, that's good. But as far as like, see, I could see Michael being like a what is his name? Was it Lando Calrissian? Like he could have done something like that. See, Michael Jackson could have done Flash fucking Gordon. Flash Gordon. Yo.
That's interesting. Bro, that's a hot take.
Yo, Gloria, have you ever heard of Flash Gordon before? Have you ever heard of Flash Gordon?
I've seen the film.
Nah, Gloria, she probably if you don't know, you damn sure don't know Flash Gordon. Where the fuck is Sorry.
He's like a football player that was abducted by aliens and then like.
Oh, right here. This is Flash Gordon right here. This is Flash Gordon right here. Mm-hmm. When I tell you, from the very first time I saw that movie on WB11 way back in the day, I thought of Michael Jackson, right? Because if you think about, like, if you know Flash Gordon, like Captain EO is in that Flash Gordon lane, except it's like it's like family friendly. But if Michael did a movie like that with music and dance in between 1980, like I could even see his brother Jackie Jackson being in that damn movie. Like Jackie Jackson could have been a black Flash Gordon. Like Action Jackson should have been a Michael Jackson movie. That should have been Michael Jackson's first fucking movie, the Action Jackson movie starring Michael Jackson. Come on, bro. That already sounds like some shit that makes a lot of money. That sounds expensive.
That does.
See what I'm saying? Like, like I don't know, like that. Right? There's just a lot of missed opportunities when it comes to Michael Jackson's film career. Even he was supposed to be in the Muppets movie. He was
which
supposed
one?
to have a cameo in the Muppets Go to Manhattan.
I think I read about that.
Yeah. He was supposed to do it. He was just too damn busy. And mind you, that movie came out in '84. Like, come on.
Perfect time.
Like that's all he needed. So when the only reason why people make comparisons to Michael Jackson and Prince in terms of how big they were in '84 is because Prince just had that leg up with Purple Rain the film. And I was even listening to some Prince like documentary sort of things, and that's what he wanted to do because he was looking at Michael like, okay, Michael's got Thriller, all right, so let me try to one up that and then get my own movie of the same name, But to switch it over a little bit, since we're kind of talking about films in the '80s and things like that, what I wanted to talk about is you guys' thoughts on, let's say, Captain EO. I think I talked to you about that before. We're kind of like rearranging Michael Jackson.
I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
But for the people that don't know, so I always felt like Michael Jackson's career would have stand to benefit if everything shifted 1 year up. So Gloria, imagine if Bad came out in 1986, Captain EO came out in '85, and Bad came out in '89. Now, what's your let that marinate in your mind a second, and then tell me what you think about that. Because I honestly think that would have made like the biggest difference on like the music industry at that time. The reason why
absolutely.
Because why do you think Janet Jackson was so big? Because she dropped because the Control album came out in '86. That was when Michael wasn't even really around like that. Because he really hadn't been out since really '83, '84. So they had pretty much 2 years. The rest of the music industry had 2 whole years to catch up. You know what I'm saying? Which is too much time. Because I would have been like, Michael, if you want to keep that news tight on the music industry, Bad gotta come out in '86. You see what I'm saying? Because Janet Jackson, Bobby Brown, Madonna, they kind of filled that void a little bit. You see what I'm saying? Because notice by the end of the '80s, there were artists that I won't say were just as big, but they were kind of like people had more options to pick. They had more to choose from. See, when Thriller came out, Michael Jackson was kind of sort of the option, and which was the best option. You know what I'm saying? But then years later, you had Bobby Brown, you had Janet Jackson, you had, Bruce Springsteen, you had more Prince. You see what I'm saying? So Michael had more competition because he let them catch up. What y'all think of?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I do agree. It would have been a little bit of a better idea if he would have released a few of his projects about a year prior. Because like you said, like he didn't release Bad until like '87. And I mean, Michael Jackson only had 2 albums in the 80s, which is crazy because he was an icon in the 80s. And I think if he were to release both Thriller, Bad, and Dangerous all in the 80s, I think it could have made him a lot bigger of an artist for sure. You know, and plus like the songs he made in like the 89 sessions for Dangerous. I mean, what Mine Is the Magic, Work That Body. I think
that's the Siegfried and Roy song, right?
Yeah, Siegfried and Roy. Yeah, those songs are perfect for the Dangerous album. Like, and I'm surprised he didn't eventually put it on there. But honestly, like New Jack Swing was really blowing up in '89 as well. And I feel like if he were to get, if he released 3 albums in the '80s, I think that would have been perfect. You know, with Thriller in '83 or not '83, '82, Bad in '86, and then Dangerous in '89. I think that would have been great for Michael because. I mean, he was the king of the '80s. You know that. I mean, I don't think that should be any argument. But you know, for Dangerous, I think it would have been nice because around that time period, you know, he was working on songs like "Do You Know Where Your Children Are," "Mine Is the Magic," "Work That Body." You know, and I'm pretty sure he could have been able to get Teddy Riley as well, even though he was still a part of Guy around that time period. I'm pretty sure he could have been able to get him as well, and I think it would have been a perfect like mix of New Jack Swing and Michael Jackson, you know. And I think Dangerous would have been a great album. Not that like the one that was released in '91 is not great at all, but like you know, I think it would have been just as great.
It's still before I let Gloria go. I'm just gonna say that even though it came out in '91, which is practically the end of the New Jack Swing era, it's still today the biggest New Jack Swing album of all time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so to his credit, but Gloria, you can
go. No, yeah, I agree. I feel like you said Bad, Dangerous, and Thriller. I feel like he would have just been, not saying that he wasn't solidified, but like you said, there was a little bit more room towards the end for other artists to kind of get in there, and people like, oh, okay, well, I have this option now. But he would have just been way more solidified. Like, nobody else could say they even had the 80s. It's like, nah, that's Michael's era. Like nobody else could touch it. Right. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
so well, because what I was gonna say about Dangerous, and I guess we can just talk about that. So I read an article years ago, and what the article said was that Michael Jackson's last album was the Dangerous album. Now, I agree with that because, when we think of a Michael Jackson album and a Michael Jackson release, you think about, the endorsement deals, the big tours, you know what I'm saying? The videos and a whole entire campaign to go along with an album. You know what I'm saying? Like a $100 million campaign to go with an album. And when you think about, history, Blood on the Dance Floor, Invincible, and obviously that was kind of, Invincible was really his last album. You didn't have that, you know what I'm saying? And I think, those, allegations and the negative things that happened, in 93 pretty much derailed that, because I think when all that popped off, that was the last time Michael worked with Pepsi.
Yeah.
So, what y'all think about that?
I never really realized that, because the promotion for Dangerous was huge, I don't think like that's even a question. Like it was ginormous. It was a big deal at the time. People were talking about it all the time, and I've seen videos of like news stations talking about it as well, really making it a big deal. And I'm not too sure about History or Invincible either, but yeah, like I don't see like as much hype going around both of those albums as well, comparing it to History. So yeah, like I didn't realize that.
Because if you think about it, Michael was pretty much like setting up to like take control of the 90s. Like that's pretty much what it was. I think even in 90 when he, he did the whole Sony ATV merger and then signed like a $50 million deal, which at that time was like the biggest, record deal contract,
right.
At that time. He was going to take over the world again. You know what I'm saying? Because you come out in 91, you haven't released an album since 87. So you come out again, which you have the biggest album of that genre, still sell, millions of records. And then you're on pretty much the biggest tour at that time. Because I don't even think there was another tour, bigger than Dangerous, the Dangerous tour, other than him. I'm talking about another artist having a just as successful tour than, you know what I'm saying, an equal or greater tour to Dangerous at that time. And
Right.
And mind you, after the allegations, that the tour pretty much stopped. So I don't even think they did any shows after that. I don't think there was like a second. I think the second leg, he didn't finish the second leg of the tour.
No, he didn't. Yeah,
it
wasn't supposed to. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to end in Mexico. In fact, he was supposed to go to where my parents lived at the time, Puerto Rico. In fact, I got some family members who were actually interested in going to see him, which I wasn't aware of until very recently.
Right.
So yeah, like it was supposed to be a much bigger tour, which unfortunately he couldn't finish.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I like zoned out for a little bit. What you said that you said that the Dangerous album is considered the last album because of what? Like, what was the reason behind it?
Because what I was saying is that when you think of an album, a Michael Jackson release, you think about, you know, these big $100 million campaigns, you know, the tours, the deals,
I see.
the commercials, you know what I'm saying? Everything. Like, it's not like, you know, somebody just comes out with an album, they have a couple of music videos, and then that's pretty much it. No, Michael Jackson, it's like a whole campaign that stretches out for years. You know what I'm saying? Like the Thriller campaign went from 1982, and it didn't really die down until 86, which is why Michael felt the need to wait that long, because Thriller was still selling like water. You know what I mean? So I'm like, if people, and mind you, at its peak, it was selling a million copies a week. So why would I feel pressure to come out with another album when my shit is still, you know, selling like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll quote a book, like a household staple. You know what I'm saying? Like when you, like people, like how you have like a roll of toilet paper in your house, people had a Thriller album in their house. Like that just came standard with every single house. You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't really, I mean, obviously, you know, history still sold numbers. You know, Blood on the Dance Floor still sold a lot of numbers. But I just feel like it wasn't the same. Even Invincible, like we all know that, you know, that whole thing was, it could have been a lot more than what it was. There was no Invincible tour. And then there was only 2 music videos, if I'm not mistaken, for the Invincible album. So, you know, that's what
I mean, it's obvious how huge he wanted to be for Dangerous as well, because I mean, he made like what, seven short films, right?
For what?
I don't think it was that much.
Dangerous?
For Dangerous, yeah. It was he like the most short he's done the most short films for that album out of all his albums, and it's obvious how huge he wanted to be for that album.
Yeah.
And I mean, if those, I feel like the reason why it didn't reach that number again was because of the allegations. I feel like if those allegations never happened, like you said, you know, Michael was bigger than he was in the 90s, you know. So if those allegations never happened, God knows how huge he could have really been, and God knows like how much more appreciation. How much more appreciative would have been, you know, the History album and even Invincible, you know.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, I get that. I get that ideology of the lack of campaigning and advertising for those the albums after Dangerous. I get that, but I still wouldn't completely disregard them, especially not Invincible.
Oh yeah, no,
because of the versatility. You know, it's like I totally get where they're coming from. I'm like, okay, I understand that, but you know, Invincible is just such a masterpiece. I can't say that that's the last album.
Don't Walk Away makes me cry.
This is the last.
Don't Walk Away makes me cry. So I definitely acknowledge Invincible, and I appreciate it way more now than I did when it first came out. Because my mom bought me that album, you know, for Christmas. But I think even if Michael was in on this podcast right now, I think he would say the same thing. Because before I get into, you know, the next topic, what I'm going to, because it kind of, you know, is synonymous, but Michael was into that. You know, he was into the whole, you know, grand scale of when he would come out. And I know for a fact he didn't like the fact that, you know, his subsequent albums didn't really measure up. Because remember, Julian, we were talking about that before. Like, Michael thought that Bad was a failure because it didn't sell 100 million. You see what I'm saying? So if he felt that way about Bad, how do you think he feels about?
Oh yeah, of course.
You see what I'm saying? So you know.
Yeah,
that's what I mean by that.
I heard that he was literally like crying at the Grammys because he didn't win as many Grammys as he did for Thriller.
You can YouTube that. You can YouTube that. You know what I'm saying? And so I guess with that said, I will say that you know, one of the things, or one of my I guess my grievances with Michael is the fact that he bought into, you know, the commercialism of his artistry. Right. So it more so sales in numbers became just as important as the art itself. And that's not a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Because then it's going to lead you to think that, oh, because mind you, I was telling you before, I think I was telling you, Gloria, that pound for pound, Bad is a better album than Thriller. I'm talking about song for song, like Thriller doesn't really compare. You see what I'm saying? And you have this man dead ass crying at the Grammys because he didn't get, you know, certain accolades. You know what I'm saying? And
it's unfortunate. Yeah.
It's very unfortunate because I think, like I said, he was listening to them guys in suits. He was listening to the guys in suits. He wasn't listening to, you know, his fans, because obviously the three of us would tell him straight up, like, you know, 100 million, who cares about 100 million? We're just happy that we got the album. You know what I'm saying? We're happy that you're you know, sharing the art. And I always like to make the comparison between Michael Jackson and Prince, and where I wish that they hung out a lot more, or I wish that Prince's mindset or arrogance, if you will, rubbed off on Michael in a way that, all right, yeah, the record label executives are asking you for this type of music, but if you're not in that space anymore, why should you have to, you know, make music that doesn't reflect the time and space that you're in? Like, I think George, was it Nelson George or George Nelson?
George Nelson.
George Nelson. So he had a review about Cheater, the song Cheater, right? And then he was saying that he wished that, you know, Michael had put more music out like that. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't feel like every song that he put out, or every single that he had to be, you know, super calculated. Like, all right, so Dirty Diana is for this particular audience, you know, Bad is for this particular audience. And we have the ballads here, because that's what Beat It was. Beat It was a record intended to cross over to the rock audiences, to appeal to an audience that he hadn't had access to prior to that. And Bad had the same elements of that. Like, it's like a song for this, for that, to cover all sides, so everybody is happy. So
yeah. I was gonna mention, not to go a little off topic, but I remember I'm sorry for talking a little too much about Prince. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but
no, go ahead,
like,
man.
Prince, he challenged Michael to do like an unplugged album or an unplugged concert, and where it was just him sitting down on
I read that.
like a stool and, you know, just performing in front of an audience, no special effects, just him sitting down and sing. I think that was an album Michael really, really missed, because it would have been such a refresher just to see Michael be an artist instead of the
entertainer.
Instead of the entertainer, you know. And I feel like if Michael did the Unplugged, you know, tour or the Unplugged album, I feel like it could have been one of his greatest, honestly. And, you know, going back to just MTV Unplugged in general, like, just him performing in front of like a small audience, you know, would have been super nice to see. And I know there were times in his career where he wanted to perform in front of smaller audiences, like, for instance, the One Night Only, and I mean, I guess you can also say Motown 25, but, you know, yeah, like, there were many. I mean, just seeing Michael perform in front of like a small audience, just singing songs that are not as crazy, I think, to me, is like one of the greatest things ever. You know, how do y'all feel about that,
Gloria?
Well, it's funny because I actually had this conversation with my friend about, you know, This Is It. I was like, honestly, he didn't have to make it as grand as he did, you know, with the special effects and all this. What was that? A big robot on the stage? I don't know. I was like, what is he
wanted like some like big ass robot with, like, you know.
Right. I'm like, why is there a robot on stage? You don't need to do that, you know, especially at the age that he was. It's not, I mean, he wasn't like super old, but, you know, you didn't have to do that. You could have been simply sitting there and given us more vocals. Let's hear how Michael Jackson is vocally, because we know how he is as a performer, as a dancer. And, you know, I was also talking to my friend about that, and her friend said that Michael Jackson wasn't the best vocalist.
Who said that?
I started laughing.
Who said that? Hold on.
I started laughing. And I said, this is why I wish Michael would have did more, you know, toned down performances so people could hear him. You know what I'm saying? Because we're so busy paying attention to the dance moves and the lights and, oh my God, this, that, you know, but the greatest vocalist can't do that. See what I'm saying? Because Whitney Houston was a great vocalist because she was standing still on stage. She wasn't going nowhere. Exactly. See what I'm saying? How many artists do you know that can move back and forth like Michael can, super high energy choreography, and still maintain your vocals at the highest level? He was doing that for the majority of his career. He wasn't like lip singing until like way later.
Right.
They can't do that. So I already debunked that. So I want to hear that.
That's what I said. I was pissed. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's easy to sound
No.
great when you're sitting still, like you're on a stick,
Right,
not going nowhere.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
These
So
artists
Yeah.
nowadays can't do that. They cannot do that. They
Facts.
got those background vocals there, and they're moving around, dancing the
Chris
whole
Brown
time.
can't even do that. Chris Brown can't even do that.
Let's talk about it.
So, but yeah, I mean, you know, for me, it would have been nice, you know, like, you know, Gloria said, to just see him kind of, you know, tone it down, you know, a bit, like kind of, you know, bring it down a couple of levels, because, you know, you're right. You know, it's not always necessary to have like the big, you know, the lights and giant robots and 50-pound jackets and, you know, this and that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because in fact, I would have been like, Michael, you know, you could make a lot more money just by bringing the production costs way down. You know what I'm saying? Like, but instead, I just know it wasn't always his idea. I just feel like there were people who were telling him to do that. Like, you know, Michael, you gotta have this, you gotta have that. And then Michael's like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you know, right. And then feeling like he has to, you know, go, you know, bigger and better, because bigger doesn't always necessarily mean better. I mean, for us, we're gonna appreciate it for what it is, but at the same time, it's like that took a toll on him. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, why I can't help but feel like, you know, when I watched, you know, This Is It, it's kind of like, yeah, this is all, you know, great and dandy for the fans, but how does it feel for the man himself?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. It's just hurtful when I think of that sometimes. But
you know,
an
like,
Unplugged album would have been cool.
I mean, like even Prince did tours like that, like the Piano Microphone tour. Many consider that to be like like his best tour ever, because the fact that you're just one-on-one with him, or, you know, it's like a beautiful feeling. In fact, I wanted to go see that tour back when that was around, you know. So I feel, yeah. But I also had another idea, kind of similar to the Unplugged album, where Michael would have just sang in front of, like, you know, I'm losing my wording today, but I had an idea where I think it would have been nice to see Michael made an entire album where he sang over orchestral music, you know, or classical music. I feel like that was something that was super
music.
amazing.
He said that.
He loved classical.
He said that.
Loved
Yeah,
classical
he said
music.
that in an interview. Yeah.
You know, and songs like Childhood, Smile, I mean, those are just some of his beautiful songs ever. Just, you know, Speechless, again, some of his greatest songs ever, in my opinion. And I feel like if he did more songs like that, you know, or at least like make an entire album where it was like that, and go, you know, have a tour to go along with that. Oh my God. That would be, I would also consider that to be some of his greatest stuff ever. Again, like, he always had missed opportunities, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. No, I don't know, man. I just wish he had me and Gloria were talking about the other night. I was just like, how, you know, he didn't have the right people in his corner to kind of like have his best interest in a way. It's like, okay, you know, we know that this is the intention, but do we really have to go over the top? You know what I'm saying? Do we have to go this far with it? You know what I'm saying? We could just, you know, bring it down a couple of them. We never had that. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to, you know, a Michael Jackson performance that was just kind of like, you know, like what you're saying about Prince, I was kind of like just one-on-one with Prince, like just him, the instruments, and the music, and the fans. You know what I'm saying? With Michael, it was like literally this whole thing, which is great. Like, I love it, but at the same time, it's like you kind of have to, you know, progress, you know, along with, you know, your age. You know what I'm saying? You have to kind of acknowledge that, because Prince, I don't think Prince was jumping off, you know, pianos and doing all that crazy shit.
No,
I doubt it.
But the thing is, I think the performances as he got older got better, because he focused more on the music. And when it comes to music, that is already, you know, like an amazing feeling. Because if you see shows from like the jazz festivals and even some of the stuff with Third Eye Girl, like, I consider those to be some of his greatest performances, because he focused more on the music rather than him jumping off, you know, a subwoofer, or like, you know, jumping off everything with his high heels, you know.
Well, you know what?
I mean, he was. Oh, go.
No, go ahead. My bad.
No, like, he wasn't even wearing high heels by the time, like, he got older, you know? So
yeah,
he wasn't the man that everybody knew, but they still were incredible performances, you know? And I think they're absolutely amazing to watch. And I was just watching them like yesterday.
Right.
So yeah. Yeah, anyways.
Corey, you have something you want to share, or because I forgot.
I look like I want to say something.
What'd you say?
No, yeah. So I actually wanted to ask you guys about this, because I was like, you know, Googling the album sales for Thriller, because I'm like, okay, by now it should be like 200 million, right? And Google says 66 million copies globally and 100 million worldwide. And I'm like, those numbers don't even sound right. Like, I could have sworn the last time Michael said 117 million.
All right. So this is probably what I think about that, right? So we already know that by mid-late 1984, Thriller was already at 33 million, I think, domestically, right? So I think with that 66 million, that has to be a domestic number. You know what I'm saying? As of right now, and then worldwide would fill in the gap between 66 and 100 million. And we probably want to factor in like singles as well.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I think that whole like singles and album sales combined is already pushing that, you know, past 100 million easy, in my opinion. So. Right.
Because I do feel like in a sense that he's blackballed from certain streaming services.
Absolutely. That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Because they don't like the fact that they don't like the fact that Michael Jackson is still on top posthumously. You see what I'm saying? Like, I mean, and especially now, you know, my opinion on streams is that like streams is a handicap that they put on the music industry because people aren't going to Target to buy freaking, you know, albums anymore. No one does that anymore. You know what I'm saying? So now they're like, oh, so 2,000 streams equals, you know, 10,000, you know, real actual copies of some bullshit like that. You know what I'm saying? So like their artists today are not even in the same conversation as Michael Jackson. Like they're not.
Exactly.
They're not. And of course, they don't want to include streams on that now. You know what I'm saying? Because as of right now, as we speak, I bet you hundreds of thousands of people are listening to Michael Jackson as we speak right now.
Oh yeah.
So if you think so in a 24-hour period, I can only imagine that Michael Jackson's music has been played probably hundreds of millions of times, if not like upwards of 50 million streams a day. Because I know how YouTube works. People are constantly on YouTube. You see what I'm saying? So they don't want to give Michael Jackson more accolades. They want to give that to Beyonce. They want to give that to Bruno Mars. They want to give that to your boy The Weeknd. Like they want to give this shit to these motherfuckers. They don't want to give this shit to the GOAT.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Well, as a matter of fact, I can't say I don't know why. You know, I think I know why, but still, you know, there's an agenda against Michael Jackson right now. They don't want to. They want to give that credit to newer artists. That's why you go on the motherfucking shade room and shit. You're talking about Drake. Freaking, Drake has surpassed Michael Jackson with the most Billboard Hot 100 hits or some bullshit. I'm like, yo, it's a completely different era. And then Drake did not change the game. Drake is literally reaping the benefits of the fruits that Michael Jackson planted 50 fucking years ago. If there was no Michael Jackson, none of these people would be around right now.
Right. He literally inspired pretty much every artist that you are listening to right now. Like any of the biggest artists that are literally like trending at the moment, they were all inspired by Michael in some way or form. And without him, God knows how literally music could be in in today's world.
There will be no music videos. Because he was the one that was financing his own videos because the record labels weren't visionaries. So they didn't know, you know what, this will be a great promotional tool. That was some shit that they didn't want to spend money on. So Michael was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna spend my own money. You know what I'm saying? Or cut a deal with Showtime and then finance that so I get to keep the bread. People weren't doing that back then. Michael Jackson was way ahead of the curve. That's why, to me, that's why Thriller was so successful at the time, because he was the first. Like he was the first of like that whole look, that whole campaign of having a short film for a music video.
Absolutely.
No one was doing that at the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or if there were music videos, it was literally like a Don't Stop Till You Get Enough or She's Out of My Life, where it was kind of like the artist, some sort of background, and that was basically it.
Right.
He took that and was like, okay, I see that people like that, so let me put out Can You Feel It? People like that because it was ahead of its time with the effects and everything, and then let me just take that to the next level with this newfound clout that I got with Thriller. See what I'm saying? So that's why I don't even acknowledge, artists of today, because like it's just y'all are just carbon copies of this guy, and then you don't want to give him the credit for it. That's the worst part about it. They don't even want to give him the credit for it. That's why you have people who will be like on some, The Weeknd is the next Michael Jackson. Nigga, no, he's fucking not. The Weeknd is the first and only and let him be great within himself. I just hate when people always want to take Prince's name or Michael Jackson's name and then try to staple it to somebody else to validate that person's greatness. Nah, let him be just the one and only. You know what I'm saying? Because Bobby Brown wasn't the next Michael Jackson because he was young and black and could dance really well. No, he was the first Bobby fucking Brown and the one and only Bobby Brown. Same thing with Chris Brown. Chris Brown is the one and only Chris Brown. Let him be Chris Brown. Stop bringing up Michael Jackson. Like, he might be able to dance like Michael Jackson a little bit, but that don't mean he's in the same conversation. Facts.
Yeah, I mean, people constantly want to replace other people so quickly as soon as they like quote unquote lose relevancy. You know, I mean, you see, like you said, people want to be the next Michael Jackson. People want to be called the next Bruno Mars or whatever. You know, like you said, like let them be great. I mean, the reason why each artist is considered to be great was because of their own little features. You cannot be Michael Jackson because it's literally physically impossible. You cannot be Michael Jackson. But there's nothing wrong with trying to be as good as him, but you know, you're definitely not going to reach the same level as him because it's just impossible. It's honestly very impossible. And I think that really goes for every artist, you know, in this game, you know?
So one thing I take issue with, and maybe this is just me, why I would say I take issue with it, it's just kind of something that I think that the fan community or people that are fans of Michael Jackson, like in-depth fans, should kind of shift from their vocabulary. And it's the separation of eras, in my opinion. The reason why I don't like that is because it's almost as if you're like, so Off the Wall is a separate person. Thriller is a separate person. Bad is a separate person. Dangerous is a separate person. Invincible, and so on and so forth. It's like if you were to, it's like if Michael Jackson was in here and you would talk to him like, oh, I loved you during the Off the Wall era. Michael Jackson would be like, what? You know, I don't know. That's just my opinion. That's like if I'm like, you don't walk up to Will Smith and say, oh, I loved you in this era or I Am Legend era Will Smith. Like, what? I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Right.
And you guys have to keep it a buck. Like, there are certain, you know, fans out there that will take a certain preference for a particular era and then only focus on that and then won't, you know what I'm saying, give let's say Jackson 5 just do or the variety show, you know, just do because they only like Dangerous. They only like history. And y'all know that. Y'all know that.
Yeah, I mean, I really see fan pages even dedicated to certain short films like Thriller or Captain EO or even, you know, like they just focus on those specific short films instead of, you know, like capturing its entire legacy. And, you know, with my Instagram page and even YouTube channel, I do acknowledge the fact that I like to say, oh, Victory is my favorite era, but I also want to, you know, talk more about all the other eras. And I think it's very important to also talk about all the other eras because, you know, there's so much to talk about one era in particular. Why not talk about everything else, you know? And also, you know, it's also a good feeling to put people on other stuff as well. You know, I started a series on my YouTube channel where I just talked about his entire discography, where I started off on the Jackson, Diana Ross Presents on the Jackson 5. And, you know, I went up from there. I haven't finished it yet, but I do eventually plan on finishing it. And, you know, I really enjoyed making those videos because, you know, I want people to really like appreciate his older stuff a lot more than, you know, the newer stuff like Bad or Dangerous, you know?
Why not call it his career? That's just my opinion. Like
that's basically what it is.
Career. Like, I know what you mean by, I'm not saying like you, but like just people in general, like, for anybody who's a Michael Jackson fan that's listening to this, like, look at him as one singular person, one singular career. And then that way you have an appreciation for everything. Because why would I put myself in a box and say, oh, I only want to dance to Michael Jackson in a span of 2 years. So all his performances in 2 years, I'm only going to dance to those and then I'm going to ignore the rest.
Yeah. I understand.
How could you, because for me, it's like, how could you be picky about the career of an artist that's supposed to be your favorite artist? So wouldn't you like everything that, you know what I'm saying? Wouldn't you have an open mind to everything that they, you know what I'm saying, have, you know, put out, like their whole entire discography? Like, it's like with Prince or any other artist, like there might be certain things that you might like a little bit more than others, but I don't think that gives you license to ignore everything else. And that's just my
right. Yeah, because like I've met a few tribute artists and deadass. Like I tell them like, oh, I love Victory, but I appreciate all the others. And I'm like, well, why you call yourself a Victory fan when you also appreciate all the other eras? Why can't you just specifically like Victory? And I'm just like,
Who the hell said
dog,
that?
like, I don't know, some like random ass.
You know who it was.
artist,
You just don't want to mess.
like just some random ass like tribute artists that hit me up, you know, talking about we talked about Victory, and then like they saw my video of me dancing to Scream from the History tour, and then I was like, what the fuck is this, man? Like why are you doing this air? Like if I'm fucking messing with another gang, you know, like just chill the fuck out, bro. Like let me appreciate my own shit, man.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I have to admit I was guilty of doing that, and I was like focused on History era, Dangerous, and Invincible. So I was like strictly posting, you know, songs from that era or pictures from that era, and then somebody called me out about it, and it was like, oh, this is what they said. They said you only post Michael when he's white, and I was like.
Well, damn.
I was like, what? I was like, wait a minute. And then I went to my page. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Oh my God, this is so fake. You know what I'm saying? So then I started to really go back, and I'm like, in my personal opinion, I feel like it's kind of like a psychological thing. Like, and when I say that, I mean this. I was introduced to Michael when he, like I said, You Rock My World. So that's what I was familiar with. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really know the other part of him, like before obviously the vitiligo kicked in or whatever. So then I started to look into these other eras and listen to this other music. And I'm like, oh my God, like I love Victory era. Like I love that album. I probably listen to that more than Thriller. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so yeah, I think it's kind of, so we have to tell ourselves like, we have to just be more open to other music. And I think another thing, what it is too, especially with the younger fans, they feel like, oh, that's old music. You know what I'm saying? Like the Jacksons. Yeah, they I'm telling you.
A lot of, I've literally met people.
Like that's older and they just disregard it. You know what I'm saying? Versus, oh, let me just give this a chance to see how this sounds. You know what I'm saying?
You know, I've
hate
met
Michael
people,
Jackson fans.
No, but I've literally met people. I've met people
I have to say
where
about that. That's another conversation.
Yeah.
No, but I've met other people where they literally give like the Jackson 5 stuff like doubt because they think it's nothing more but bubblegum pop. And I completely disagree with that, because I think some of his other songs from that era is about as good as like this shit that he released when he was a man, like a grown ass man. You know, and people always got to give it the benefit of the doubt because, you know, he was with Motown, he didn't have that creative freedom, and still it was good ass music, and I think that's what should matter. You know, you shouldn't just, you know, talk. You shouldn't just like something because he did it. You know, like you should give other people some credit as well. You know, and maybe you'll like it. You know,
just cornball.
But going back to how that person pretty much went off at you for only posting white Michael pics. That's a big issue I have with the community. The fact that, like, first of all, I want to say there's like a good chunk of people that like Michael because he's white, or quote unquote white. I gotta first like say Michael Jackson has always been a black man. All right, since the day he was born to the day he died, he was always an African American, and people need to realize that. You shouldn't just make any assumptions because you shouldn't make assumptions towards people because they're posting shit that he was quote unquote white in, you know, like history. He was always a black man, and I feel like if he never had vitiligo, that wouldn't you know, be much of a problem in this community. You know, and honestly, like, who cares who cares about what they think about what I post? You know, this is my fucking page. I'll post whatever the fuck I want to post. You know. But, you know, yeah, I just never liked that in this community. And there are people who will literally call you a colorist or racist, you know, just because you like Invincible. Like, bro, chill the fuck out with that shit, man. I like Michael Jackson. I always say this. We're all here to support the same person, right? You know,
it should be simple math. It's really simple math, but yet motherfuckers like to try to, you know, complicate shit and make it into a science when it's really not. Like, I like him, you like him, 1 + 1 = 2. So you got 2 people that like Michael Jackson now. So what the fuck is there to disagree or not get along with? So we're gonna talk about that now. All right? Because I will say that the Michael Jackson community is by far, and I'm really on the outside looking in, the most toxic community I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh,
And I don't know
they
why it's like
literally
that.
they
I don't
literally
know why
have the
it's like that.
same like the Michael Jackson community and the fucking K-pop community are pretty much the same thing, to be honest with you. Like,
See,
they are some of the most toxic ass motherfuckers I've ever met.
now,
Mhm.
because I'm somebody who's relatively new to the community, I would not even consider myself to be a part of the community. I would consider myself to be an outlier of the system. But being that you guys have more acquaintances and more friends who are in the fan community, I would like for you guys to try to explain to me and to people who are watching this podcast why the community is like that and why you have people who are hostile towards each other, people who don't like want to communicate with this person because of this, and that reason. And yeah, so Gloria, Julian,
Yeah.
y'all can decide amongst yourselves and elaborate. I know
He
this
could
might
go
take a little
first. I got a
while,
lot to
but
say. He could go first.
All right. Well, look, a lot of people in this community, I'm gonna be real, and a lot of people get pissed off when I say this. A lot of people really don't have lives in this community, and they basically pretty much revolve their own life around Michael Jackson. You know, so whenever they see someone say something in particular about Michael Jackson, you know, it doesn't even have to be that crazy. It could just be about a song, and that person will dead ass literally be mad because they think Michael Jackson is like their best friend. You know, well, I don't really know, but like, you know, they pretty much see him as like their best friend because that's, you know, the only thing that they have. And, you know, they will literally like, you know, go off for you for that. And they will literally like have bad grudge over you for that. And, you know, I think that's the reason. Personally, I'm very fortunate enough to really not be a part of that side of the community. And I haven't really had that many confrontations by that many people or from those type of people in this community. Because I've only been in this community for about 5-6 months now. Like I'm relatively still new to the
oh, so
community.
you knew. I'm thinking
Oh,
you
yeah.
was years in the game.
I mean,
okay.
I'll tell you. I guess I'll tell you this. Like I've been watching the community from a distance for a few years, and in fact, one of the reasons why I wanted to come into the community was so I can, you know, fix it up a bit, because literally all I saw was negative ass shit, and I wanted to keep it positive again because I've heard stories where people were saying like there was a time when everybody liked each other because they liked Michael Jackson. So I'm like, let me come on here and see and try and fix that, you know. And dead ass, I think there is hope for the community. I have met some of the most toxic motherfuckers. Yeah, I think there's hope because, you know, I've met some people. I've had some genuine conversations, and I feel like if I get a little bit more personal and close with them, I feel like I can, you know, change their own opinion. But I know some of y'all are ready to contradict. I know some of y'all are ready to contradict. So I'll let y'all talk.
Gloria, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, first let me start here. I'm probably the most attacked in the Michael Jackson community.
Oh.
Probably the most attacked. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because I could curse, right?
Go ahead.
Yeah, you can curse.
I'm a real ass bitch. And that's why I'm attacked, because I speak my mind, I say how it is, and a lot of people just don't like that. It's like they don't want to hear the raw truth. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I do believe that's one of the reasons why I'm attacked. But I'm not gonna even say why I really do feel like there's a separation, because I feel like it's rude as hell. So I'm not gonna say keep my opinion to myself. But I'll go into this. I do feel like there are different groups in the fandom, right?
Factions.
So
that is big.
Different categories.
It's so many different divisions. So it's like, oh well, I roll with this person, so I don't mess with you. Or I roll with that person, so I don't mess with you. You know what I'm saying?
High school.
And like I said, I was attacked so many times for crazy things. And I remember one girl, she didn't know me like that, but she follows my page or whatever. And somebody was attacking me, calling me the B word, this, and that. And she said, you don't even know what this girl does in the community to attack her. She does a lot, like for Michael, for his legacy, and you're attacking her.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I'm gonna just put it out there. I started an organization. I hold events for Michael to prove his innocence. And people will literally attack me and say, oh, you're fake, you're this, you're that. And I'm just like, how? Like, what do I do that is so fake? You know what I'm saying? So, and that's just part of it. But I do feel like this too. So as far as the groups, I feel like there's the Michael Jackson is alive group and the Michael Jackson is dead. I do see that a lot. Like I posted a picture of Michael with Biggie, I think it's Biggie, Tupac, Aaliyah, and somebody commented, how dare you? Michael Jackson is alive. This is so disrespectful. I said, what?
Wow.
I'm sorry. I mean, I thought the whole world thought he was dead. I'm sorry. My bad. You know what?
How do you know he's still alive? Do you know him? Like,
Right.
right.
Right. That's what I said. So I messaged him. I'm like, so if he alive, where he at? And they never answered me. They blocked me. So this is what I'm saying. We have people like that. Then we have, what was the other group I was going to say? That
people think that they're dead, that he's dead, right?
Right. People think he's dead. People think he's alive. The era situation, that's another big argument.
I want to say there's like, I want to say that there are groups in this community. There are the one groups that are, again, like, hold up.
Yo, that can't be.
My bad. I'm sorry. My bad. Oh, you can cut that out, right? Oh, God.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
it's okay. You're fine.
You can keep that in. Hey, for real, for like just keeping it real. Yeah. But
the picture was funny.
Yo,
Sorry.
I literally took that picture like in the middle of the night. I just wanted to see how I looked like with the flash on because I know I look mad funny with that shit. And like that's literally the photo I use for school. That's literally the photo I use
that'll
for
catch
school.
somebody off guard for real.
For real.
Keep that shit. Keep that shit. That's mad. Yeah. But anyways.
All right, yeah, no, I'm good now.
Anyway, yeah, there are multiple groups in this community. The first group is it's basically the people that sexualize him. The amount of fucking people that sexualize this man. Oh my God. It was one of the earliest memories in being in the community. Like dead ass, a shit ton of those type of people were following me, and they were putting me on like groups where they would just fucking like literally talk about their fantasies about Michael. And note to you, these are little ass kids. These are like 12-year-old.
Oh
kids.
Yeah, no, it is some kids doing.
They're
this
like
shit.
they're like kids. The fact that the shit that they talked about. I don't even know if I want to talk about it because I know.
Yeah,
I feel like
you ain't gotta do that. I got an idea. I know, Gloria.
What? Okay, first of all, hold on. Let me defend myself. I feel personally attacked. First of all, okay, so yes, I do sexualize Michael. I do.
You're supposed to do that because you're a girl.
Shit.
Like they're gonna do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like I get
fine
it.
as shit, and I'm a grown ass woman. I'm 27, so that's different. But there are a lot of children doing this shit.
It's the kids that I have the problem with the most.
I don't.
That's like where like it crosses the line because if you're like a little ass kid talking about how you want Michael to rail the fuck out of you, you got some issues. You have some issues like that.
Shit.
That's a whole because bro, they go descriptive too. Like they go descriptive sometimes.
They do. I'm like, how you even know what that is? Like, what is wrong with you?
Well,
like, go outside. Go outside.
Right.
Go
to your
outside.
father's house. Go to your father's house.
Well, what I was gonna say about the fan community, because I think we all know what's wrong with the community and everything, right? We all know. So I try to be into solutions rather than just the problem. But I think for me personally, people need to focus on the person that we're all a fan of and just focus on that common ground amongst each other. I feel like there's no reason for like a Michael Jackson fan, like two Michael Jackson fans to not get along. Like so let's say me and Gloria, there's no reason for us to not get along because one, we don't know each other. What we do know about each other is the fact that we both love the same artist. Focus on that. Same thing with Julian. I don't know you, you know what I'm saying? But what I do know, I know you now, but let's say if I didn't, what I do know is that we both like the same guy. So I'm like, if we both have the same interests, why, you know what I'm saying? Why should we not be cool? You know what I mean? Like and he was there, and we already talked about this anyway. But my first experience with a random Michael Jackson fan was not positive. You know what I'm saying? And that was for no reason whatsoever, as far as I know. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's why for me, I was like, it makes me almost not want to be a part of that community because if that's what I should expect, then why would I even associate myself with something of that level of toxicity that Michael himself wouldn't even approve of? I don't think Team Breezy is like that. I don't think the fucking Beehive is like that. So why is, MJ fam, why is Moonwalkers like that when we don't even act like fam? They
don't even follow Michael.
No, go. And I don't like people who perpetuate that either. You see what I'm saying? Because let's say when Michael was talking about Eminem, right? And it was that interview where the interviewer asked him about Eminem dissing him in his music video, dissing him in the song and shit like that. Michael was like, yo, throughout my whole entire career, I've never once felt the need to attack another artist. So why the fuck doesn't a Michael Jackson fan hear that shit and be like, yo, so if he doesn't feel the need to attack somebody, why should I feel the need to attack another Michael Jackson fan? Again, if you're a Michael Jackson fan, you listening to this shit, you better freaking eat up that animosity for the next man and swallow that motherfucker. Because there's no reason for that.
I want to chime in. Another thing I feel like it is too is one, I feel like a lot of people are just followers. And when I say followers, it's like, oh, if this person don't like this person, then I'm not gonna like them either. I'm not gonna even give them a chance.
That is so true. That's so true.
Facts. That's just
you're following the wrong people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're following the wrong people. Because again, I just look at what Michael Jackson is about and the type of because I've never met him, but I can only go off of the type of person that I think that he is. And if you're going to be a fan of that person and kind of follow him like psychologically, I'm
telling you,
I think that you can't be doing that, bro. Now I got to make a fucking train of thought, but I think that people should follow that same principle.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? People need to follow that same fucking principle. And then if you're not, are you really a fan at that point? What are you about? Because Michael Jackson wasn't the kind of person that would just start some shit with somebody just for the sake of starting some based off of what somebody else thought. Motherfucker, if you're a Michael Jackson fan, don't you know that he said you gotta walk a moon in somebody else's moccasins before you judge them? What the fuck? Like, yo, I don't know, man.
And one thing I don't like about the community at all is that they never follow any of Michael's messages. You know, Michael was the positive person who wanted to love everybody. And I feel like even if Michael was still alive today, or if Michael would have found out how his community would end up, he would be mad disappointed. And I didn't even know him. But if I was him, I would be mad fucking disappointed. Because the fact that like there's so much toxicity going around the community, I feel like Michael literally Michael wouldn't even want to eat, just knowing that would be his
that's how fans treat each other. That's how fans conduct themselves. That's what I'm all about. I'm all about how you personally conduct yourself. And like literally, if I'm somebody with a substantial platform, I'm somebody with just people that look to me for what I talk about, what I do, blah 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 blah. I'm not going to be the guy that's going to tell you not to fuck with somebody else if I've never even if you haven't even talked to that person. Even if my experience with Gloria is less than positive, I'm not going to tell you not to fuck with her because maybe your experience with her is going to be completely different. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the first time that y'all met, and it's been pretty cool so far. But let's say somebody would if somebody told me, oh, don't fuck with Julian, well, I never spoke to him yet. You know what I'm saying? And then the people that would have me believe that are people that I don't even know that well. So that's what I'm saying. So motherfuckers need to shift this shit around. You know what I'm saying? Like, I might have to be the one to do it because, you know what I'm saying?
Honestly,
motherfuckers be having smear campaigns about other Michael Jackson fans. Come on now, you get it together.
Yeah. I mean, oh man, but like, I guess I want to go back to the groups though, because I think that's also very important because there are multiple groups. There are the groups that are basically mad chill, all right, that could connect to everybody.
Still is subjective.
Just wants to talk.
Still is subjective because see, one of the guys that some guy that he's friends with that he says is chill was the motherfucker that was coming at me sideways. So that's what I said about personal experiences. See what I'm saying? Because you and I can be cool, and then you and Gloria can not get along, but that doesn't mean that, you know what I'm saying, that she's cool with everybody. She's just cool with me. She might not be cool with you. So we gotta get that split. So we gotta specify. We gotta specify because not everybody, you know what I'm saying? Not, chill ain't always chill. You know what I'm saying? So
I mean, a lot of people on the outside of the community like to, fuck around and, they like to go off and roast each other and shit. With no grudges against each other, but I know some people, will take it the other way. But I mean, once you really know them, they're very chill people, and there's the other side that wants to focus on how he's innocent. There's nothing wrong with that. I still think to this day, people don't think he's innocent. And I think people like them are very important, but I think they talk too much about it. And, it really puts like a little bit of a negative side to the community or a little bit of a negative vibe to the community. That's how I should say it, because, that whole point in his life was pretty much his worst time ever, It was the first time where he felt everybody kind of turned their backs on him. It was the first time pretty much everybody pretty much turned their backs on him when they found out he was a quote unquote pedophile, you know. So it was a hard time for him. There were points where he didn't even want to eat, but the fact that you kind of want to focus on that, I don't know, it just gives me a little bit of a negative impression. But I understand where you're coming from, you know, because at the end of the day, everybody still thinks he's, you know, guilty. You know, everybody still thinks he's a pedo.
Here's my thing with that. Is I'm kind of glad that you brought it up right now. I think that all of us as fans, we know that he's innocent. Obviously, I don't think that I could really be a fan of somebody, you know, totally if there was some like a seed of doubt in my mind that this person was capable of doing XYZ with, you know, whomever, right? But I do agree that at the same time, it's like I feel that society now focuses on that a bit too much. Because there was a reason why Michael Jackson wasn't always all out there with interviews and things like that, because a lot of the questions that they want to ask this man is none of nobody's fucking business. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think for me, society, the people who do think he's guilty and the people who don't think he's guilty, I think that or if that makes sense, people who think he's guilty and people who think he's innocent. I think that we need to focus on what he put out there that was meant for us to see and hear.
Yeah,
fact, music and his craft. I think, all right, so when some shit, you know, comes out that it's like allegations or whatever, yeah, you know, it's for us to, you know, kind of, you know, quell that. So if you know somebody that thinks the other way, kind of try to inform them, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, do that and kind of keep it moving, because that it gets to a point where that's all people want to talk about. So it's like when you think of Michael Jackson, you think of his personal life, you think of allegations before you think about his music. That's wrong. Because when we talked about a little bit about the biopic, and I was just like, yo, like, what is that biopic gonna be about? His personal life. It's not gonna be about the making of Off the Wall and Dangerous and Captain EO with Victor. It's not gonna be about that stuff that I want to see, because that's what I want to see. We already know, we kind of have a general idea of what we have an outline of what his personal life may have been like, his family life, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And that's it. I think, you know, what Gloria does, because she was telling me the other night that how, you know, she has events, you know, Michael Jackson innocent events, and I think those are necessary. You know what I'm saying? At the same time, I just think that we need, like, it's all about balance. You know what I'm saying? So I think, like, we need more documentaries about, like, you know, that gives us insight into his work ethic.
Oh, yeah.
Those certain things. More so than, we don't need another, you know, Searching for Neverland. You know, we don't need another American Dream. We got that already. You know what I'm saying? And that's great. Because they're talking about the same guy who did that Bohemian Rhapsody movie is going to do a Michael Jackson biopic. I don't want that. You know, who asked? I didn't ask for that. You know, who says we wanted that? I don't. There was some white guy playing Michael Jackson? No.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they won't get a white guy to play Michael Jackson, but still, like, the guy who
directed Searching for Neverland, they got a pure white guy.
Oh,
yeah. They got a Caucasoid from the Caucasus Mountains to do that. I'm not having that.
No.
I'm not having that. The mountains of Caucasus. Nah, yo, I'm not having that. I'm not having that.
Man,
I would rather the Flex. You guys know the Flex Alexander movie. I would rather that than the Searching for. I'm sorry, I don't care. They could have got Flex to do that. I'll call Flex myself. Like, yo, Flex, we need you for another one. We need another one.
Yeah, but yeah, like, the thing about Bohemian Rhapsody was that they had a bunch of, like, facts, like, either fabricated or just completely wrong, and I know that's going to be for this new movie, and, you know, it's going to disappoint a lot of fans. But I think I'm not going to watch the movie. I just want to be clear. I'm not going to watch the film unless, like, something interesting, like, captures my attention. I'm not going to watch the movie because I already know his life, you know, and already by hearing that it's going to be a movie instead of a series, like, that already lost my attention. But as long as they mention, or as long as they make sure that as long as they portray him as an innocent man instead of, you know, the pedo that many of the public, you know him as, I would be happy. I would totally be satisfied with this document, or not documentary.
And let's just be clear on that. And Gloria, we talked about that. The people that feel otherwise are people that aren't making that judgment based on their own research that they did. You ask this person, well, all right, so if that's how you feel, then what is that based on? Oh, you know, that's what I heard. Motherfucker, that's what you heard. That's not what you know for sure. And that's my problem. And mind you, people like that aren't even really worthy of a conversation or debate if at that point. Because I'm like, if you're really going to cast judgment based off of, like, Not even you didn't even hear that the third person. That's like you know what I'm saying? That's like a fifth person's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're, then that means you can't handle the truth. If you would go that far with a lie. So nah, man. So I just had to put that out there.
Right.
You know,
like there.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You go.
Yeah,
No,
there's
go.
a YouTuber, and he did like a little documentary about why he think Michael is a pedophile. And of course I watched it because I'm ready to attack this motherfucker. I'm like, I'll cut your ass. Like I get up, don't play with me. So I go watch it and I'm like, okay, the first half, I'm like, maybe he could convince some people, but then he gets into Michael and women and he's like, yeah, I mean, you just never seen him with women. I said, wait, what? So you're basing your whole idea of Michael being a pedophile really on this part of the video because it was a longer part. And he's like, yeah, he just wasn't with women, so he had to be gay and blah, blah, blah. Oh. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna even waste my time and curse you out because you are ignorant. You didn't do any type of research. Ignorance. You know what I'm saying? Nice. To say Michael Jackson wasn't with women. It's several articles online about him with different types of women. There's 2 different books by it's a Spanish woman, I forgot her name, and then Shauna Montague and a whole bunch of other women. So it's like you obviously are not doing enough research to say that. You're just going off of what we kind of saw, I guess you could say. It's like, oh, we saw him with this woman or that woman, but it wasn't a lot, like maybe a Prince or a Chris Brown. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I tell people who are like that? Just say you don't like Michael Jackson and call it a day.
Right.
You don't got to do none of that because clearly you don't like the guy, and that's fine. Like everything, not for everybody. Like there's people who don't like Prince, who don't like Michael Jackson. There's somebody that'll tell you that they think Kobe Bryant was a better basketball player than Michael Jordan. Like everybody's got their own preferences, but you don't have to, take the time. Because this is the thing. Do you how do I really not like somebody if I take hours off of my life clock to make a documentary about somebody that I don't like? Like, if I think somebody's a pedophile, you think I'm going to give this person a minute off of my life clock in their direct? Like, nah. So clearly you had to be a fan to look up all this information. So you spent like 8 hours of your day. It probably took several days to make that. It'll take me a little while to make a documentary. You know what I'm saying? A good one at that. So I'm looking at Michael Jackson information. So I spend mad time, Michael Jackson, and I don't like him. And I think he's guilty. Come on, man. Get the fuck out of here. You already lost, asshole.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, some people just don't respect, other people. Right. As long as you just respect other people's opinions, I think that's all that should
respect. I think it's just, respecting people's right to like or dislike, whatever it is that they want to like or dislike. At the same time, once you take it as sort of like you're trying to make it everybody else's opinion, that's where I have a problem. So I have a problem with your opinion. Exactly. I have a problem with the fact that you're just trying to force it on me. And I mean, we live in that, era, especially now more than ever. You know what I'm saying? Because I'd be damned if Michael Jackson was around right now and then there was some motherfuckers who, I don't want to say this. I don't want it to sound the wrong way, but it's like I'm almost kind of glad that Michael Jackson is not here to experience this era of cancel culture. Oh, because nigga, especially if you're black and some shit so imagine if Michael Jackson was here for Leaving Neverland right now. It's
the thing is, Leaving Neverland would never happen if he wasn't dead.
But a lot of shit happened when he was here. So it doesn't even have to be. All somebody has to do is go to the news and say you did some shit, and then you're pretty much guilty until proven innocent. And then even then, he was innocent on all sides. All counts, and people still was like, nah, he's still guilty. I'm like, shit, you don't know that the goddamn FBI or the LAPD or Santa Barbara County, police department wanted to get his ass? If they literally found one thing, it would have been a wrap for him, and they didn't find anything. And those people still think that he's, come on, man.
Yeah, the government, the U.S. government was literally looking at all of his footsteps.
Everything. They took his house and flipped it upside down. And in fact, I don't think Michael went. He never went back to Neverland after that.
No, he didn't even call it his own home by the time they literally broke into his house.
It was left in the same state that they left it at, if I'm not mistaken. Because I remember reading somewhere that so when he came back and saw shit was broken, ransacked, and blah 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 blah, he never went back. and then he just left it there. That's what I remember.
Yeah, like it's sad shit. That's how it had to end up.
Because society at large did not appreciate Michael Jackson. I'm just gonna keep it.
Yeah.
They did.
Plus,
They did.
I
That's
hate
a
it.
fact. Michael, I'm just gonna say this real quick because Michael said once he started breaking records and changing the game, that's when people started talking shit, and that's a fact because he tried to say he was gay. He tried in '84. I'm talking about Victory Tour Michael Jackson. They tried to say he was gay. They tried to say that he was taking like voice hormones to keep his shit, high and all of that, not realizing that this is a guy that had a very extensive vocal range. So if he just decided to talk in a certain fucking pitch, he could just fucking do that. No, they tried to say he was gay. You know why? Because he was breaking records, changing the motherfucking game. And in fact, he was already in conversation to buy the Beatles catalog. And the powers that be were like, nah, all right, so we're gonna have to squash that. So now we're gonna, for the average person, perception is reality. I like to say left eye perception, right eye reality. Most people, they just see perception and that's it. For the average person, perception is reality. So once they see certain shit in the media, like, oh, Michael Jackson's doing this, they're gonna take that shit and run with it. So all they gotta do is just put the story out there. And then you have the average dumbass who's gonna be like, oh, this shit is true, and then just go around repeating that. And then the word of mouth, especially for Black people,
oh yeah,
it's over. Because remember, Julian, I told you that like Black people after the Victory Tour, they weren't really with Michael after that. That's a fact. Right. Because they felt alienated after the Victory Tour. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then even Wesley Snipes, when they were working on Bad, he was saying that you had people in Brooklyn that love Michael Jackson, and you had other people that were screaming out he ain't shit. Right. Like I have an interview on my PlayStation 3 where he was like, yo, people were like, oh, we love Michael Jackson. And other niggas were like, oh, you ain't shit, Michael Jackson. Like talking mad shit.
Yeah.
So, mind you, this is 86 we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like it, man, I don't know. Like that's why I just feel like if nothing else, like he doesn't have to deal with like the bullshit of this world. That's a fact. Right. Like, if nothing else, because from all the near death experiences that I've read about and all that shit, he finally got a break by not being here.
Yeah, since we're talking about the Victory Tour, let's talk about the Victory Tour because we had a bit of a conversation on how that pretty much became the beginning of the end of his career, pretty much.
Yeah, I talked about I mean, honestly, as much as I love the Victory Tour, I love the Victory album. I agree with Gloria. I'm like, I know I listened to Torture way before I listened to Thriller. Like that, like I had mad fun making my video. That shit. Yeah. That's probably like my favorite Michael Jackson video that he wasn't even in, but I can go all day about that video. Anyway, that whole campaign, I mean, look at it, because it started with the Pepsi accident. And then after the Pepsi accident, you have an album that I love, but at the same time, people shitted on that album because it just wasn't really up to the standard of what they can do at that time. Right. And then you got the ticket prices that were too high. The average, Black person, saying like, lower class, lower middle class Black person, they couldn't afford that. Not only it was $30, but you had to spend $120.
Which is like $200.
And then it was a lottery ticket system at that. So it's meaning like even if I had the money, even if my family had the money to go, we can pay for it. There's no guarantee that we're actually going to get a ticket. And then it's going to take I think it was like 6 weeks to get a refund if I don't win the.
Yeah.
Come on, man. And then like they didn't look at Don King. They didn't look at Joe. They didn't look at none of the brothers. They didn't look at his mom. They looked at Michael and they blamed him for that. They were like, yo, this your tour. We're blaming you. And then mind you, he had no say. I don't understand, like, as big as he was at the time, this man was still doing group votes with his fucking brothers. I'm like, nigga, you sell 33 million and then try to do a group vote with me. I would have been like, yo, I would have been like, Marlon, put your hand down. Jackie, put your fucking hand down. I'm not selling records. I'm like, you need me.
They weren't even doing albums by that point. They were literally just going from Triumph. They were literally living off the Triumph album. And
to this day, I would still criticize the brothers for that. I would literally criticize the brothers for that. I would have been like, you guys are really doing group votes like your say even mattered? Because that's why the Victory campaign was a shit show, because you had too many hands in the pot. First of all, Michael Jackson didn't even want to do a deal with Pepsi. So if Michael had his way, the accident wouldn't even fucking happen. Because I'm pretty sure you guys know they had a deal for more money with Quaker Oats. They had a deal for way more money with Quaker Oats, but you want to listen to fucking Joe, who don't know any better, and then turn down the deal with Quaker Oats. And then mind you, they got sued for that because the deal was almost done. Michael already had the deal done, and then they had to cancel it because Joe made a deal elsewhere. And I don't know if you guys knew that. So the
I
guy,
actually didn't know about the deal with Quaker Oats. I did not know that.
yeah, the
Yeah, I didn't
CEO,
know.
the CEO of Quaker Oats, or like one of the people that they were in conversation with the deal with, sued them because by the time that the deal was done, he had to cancel that shit to go with Pepsi for less money. Because I think Quaker Oats is going to pay them like 20 million. 20 mil.
God damn.
20 mil. So they had to turn that
That's-
shit down for 7 million that he had to split 8 different ways because
Wow.
Catherine and Joe were still getting money off of that. They were getting money. That's why and Don King was getting money, who didn't even deserve this shit. A lot of people don't like Don King. So mind you, if they had just been like, you know what, Michael, you've been this successful by yourself, let's just follow you, because he's the leader anyway. He's the leader.
Right.
I'm not listening to no motherfucking, Jackie. I love Jackie Jackson. I'm just saying, I'm just keeping it real. I'm not listening to no Jackie. I'm not listening to no Jermaine. Not no fucking Marlon either. I'm not listening to none of them. Let Michael just and mind you, they had to get the mom to convince him to do this shit.
Right.
On top of that. So because he didn't want to do the shit. So they had to get Catherine to be like, all right, Michael, we need you to do the shit. They need the money. So what I would have said was, okay, cool. You know what? You have complete control over the album and the tour. Just do your thing. We'll just show up. That's all you have to do is just show up. And then let, Michael, John Branca, Frank DeLeo, let them do the rest. Stop trying to make decisions and shit like that. I don't know, but basically, and then mind you that, put him on drugs, ruined his life. Because he wore a hairpiece to Kansas City. You can see it at the Kansas City show.
Yeah.
And mind you, if it wasn't for the Victory Tour, we would have gotten fucking Captain EO, because I bet you he would have shot that movie in 84. Because if you remember, every time you read about the Victory Tour in any book that you read, Michael wanted to collect awards and shoot a movie that year. That's what he wanted to do. But instead, he had to fucking, waste time to do because mind you, I love the Victory Tour. Do not get me wrong, but it was a complete waste of time. And it did way more harm than good, because I saw, I think I have a newscast, and it was the news interviewing like 3 black dudes, and they were talking shit about Michael. I think it was, they went to his hometown because they were supposed to perform in Indiana. They were supposed to. And they didn't. And then mind you, the locals over there, they were like, I don't know what they were calling Michael Saab. Like these 3 ugly black niggas were like, just talking shit. Did that relationship with, because mind you, there were still black people that love Michael Jackson, obviously. But the people that felt like, we've been with you since like the beginning, and you want to price us out of one of your shows? They're like, no. And they were like, fuck him. And then on top of that, his looks changed. They didn't have any explanation for it. So not only did you X us out of the biggest time of your career at that time, you don't look like us anymore, in our opinion. And we don't have an explanation for it. It was over. It was over. So that's exactly why black people did not get behind Michael Jackson in 1993. Facts.
Yeah. I think with the black community in general, there is some type of it's a hate for Michael in a way, like you said, because of that and because of his skin condition and them not knowing. They don't know, so they just think Michael bleached his skin, and they're like, "Nah, fuck him. He didn't even want to be black."
That's a fact.
Especially like a real hood black person. That's how they feel. That's
how they feel.
They're like, "Yeah, I like Thriller, but fuck that nigga." That's how they look at it, you know. So you have to. That's why we have to educate people. When they say that, it's like it's an awkward conversation, but it's like, hey, he had vitiligo, right? Like, you want to see a picture? Like, I got some pictures on my phone I can show you.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I remember having a conversation with one of my teachers who was African American at the time, and this was a little bit after he died, where it was pretty much a known fact that he had vitiligo. And deadass, she started saying like, "Oh, he didn't want to be black. He wanted to be white. This shit he about vitiligo, that ain't true." They
don't know shit. They don't know shit. And then even if Michael did come out, see, this is my thing, right? The Oprah interview was, and that's what I'm saying, where after Dangerous he was supposed to take over like the 90s, because at that point he was like, all right, I'm already the biggest artist of all time. I just dropped the biggest New Jack Swing album ever at the last minute. So now I'm going to let people in. So now that I'm at the top, this is when I'm going to let people in. He should have did that 85, 86, in my opinion. I think he waited too long. Now, mind you, he didn't owe anybody an explanation. It was nobody's fucking business. And I think I'm quoting Randy, him saying that, because I think they asked him about that in like this Jackson family interview from 1989, and they asked the family about like his changing looks and everything like that, and Randy Flatter was like, it's not, if he doesn't talk about it, it's because he don't want to talk about it. It's nobody's business. At the same time, I just think if you were going to let people in, or if you had it in your mind that I'm going to let people in and give them an explanation, down the line, you might as well do it now. Like, you know what I'm saying? I would have told him, like, do it now. Because I think he had like a 60-minute interview with like him and Quincy or some shit. And then he was at home. Do that now. You know what I'm saying? Get it out the way so people can be like, oh, okay.
Like as soon as it started.
As soon as it started. Because even then, but then it's not like it is today where like the top models, you know, that you know in fucking New York, a lot of them got vitiligo and like these different types of facial features. They wouldn't even have appreciated that for what it was. It's not like if like, let's say if the Bad album cover was like, he just decided not to wear any makeup, right? Niggas would have clowned him for that. It wouldn't have mattered if he came out and said it or not. People just want to hate, especially when you're black. It's different. Like you don't get a pass. Like now in this era, like, you know, if you're like albino or like you're a skinny, you know what I'm saying, 90 pounds soaking wet black woman and you got vitiligo, people are like, oh my God, you're so brave. Oh, you're so fucking beautiful. The biggest artist of all time had that same problem. Y'all were gonna clown him for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, humans are just trash, or people are trash. Because the average, this is what I'm gonna say about this, right? There's human beings like us. This is a, you know, human to human interaction, exchange of minds. People that think from the perception of like people are herd fucking mentality are fucking retarded. That's exactly why the world is a shitty place, because we don't even have love for our fellow human being. We do not. We do not. And like, mind you, you got like, especially Gloria, you know, like when you put yourself out there, like people just hate you for like no fucking reason. Like I've had random people just say shit about me just because. Now, needless to say about what that actually feels like when you're Michael Jackson.
Right.
This is exactly why, like, that's why, like, that's how much like my heart kind of hurts for him, and that's why I'll say like I'm almost glad he's not here, because the world is worse now than it was back then. So we don't even deserve a Michael Jackson, or this world doesn't even deserve a Michael Jackson, because we didn't know what the fuck to do with him when he was here. We didn't know what to do with the man when he was here.
He was born at the wrong time. He was really born at the wrong time.
He was, because I think he was born at the, see, all right, I can only say that even if he was born early, then he would have just grew up in like a racist ass time. You know what I'm saying? Because we're artists. So even if there was a Jackson 5 in the 20s and 30s, they took advantage of fucking black artists back then. So they would have just took their songs, took them away from them, and then fucking gave it to the white doo-wop group and shit like that. And niggas would have been like ABC, fucking blonde hair, blue eyed white guys and shit. So I think he was born at the right time. Is literally just like, yo, like, once he broke those barriers and just like, you know what I'm saying, transcended reality and became, you know, more famous than motherfucking Jesus, people just decided to throw dirt on the man and throw darts at him his whole entire fucking life. And then the littlest excuse that they had, the littlest chink in his armor during Thriller, I'm talking about. So I feel like 1983 was like the peak. You know what I'm saying? Like where him, James Brown, and Prince were on stage, that was his peak. It wasn't 84, it was 83, where people didn't have shit to say about him. He was still out and about and all of that. My problem with Michael was that I think this is something that Eddie Murphy said. He was like, the reason why Eddie Murphy was as big as he was, because Eddie Murphy was like the biggest, like, you know, comedian at that time, you know, delirious and everything. The reason why he had a sense of normalcy, even though he was that big, was because he was like, yo, every time y'all see me, I'm wearing regular clothes. You know what I'm saying? When he makes major public appearances, he's not wearing, you know, sequin jackets. I think it's, you know, I love his, you know, sequin jackets, but at the same time, just wear a suit and a tie. Because you want, if Michael wanted so bad to be normal, then dress normal more often. So that people will
like
see
you see him wearing like military armor.
Right, because the average person does not have access to those kinds of costumes and those kinds of clothes. That is a fact. So you're already setting people up to hold you to a certain fucking standard. Like every time we see you, it's like when he got his Hollywood Walk of Fame, right? He should have just wore like, I don't know, like what he wears when he goes to Disney World and shit, like his fedora hat, you know what I'm saying, some fly outfit, and then just rock out like that and just accept your word and leave. I would have told him, like, I would like save that for the tours, save that for the shows. Do not wear those out in public. Because if you want to go out in public, people don't wear that in public. Wear your regular clothes. You know, like he would go to the Salvation Army and shit like that. Wear those. Don't wear that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But going back to, you know, him, if he never had that makeup on, I feel like they still would have called him Michael Jackal, because
facts
was mad rare at the time. They still would have called him Michael Jackal because vitiligo was mad rare at the time. You ain't never heard of somebody say that they had vitiligo, you know.
And the biggest artist of all time having vitiligo
with
at
white
that.
skin on him, you know, they're gonna be like, what the fuck's up with his face? What the fuck's up with his body?
He had no
looks like a
choice.
fucking clown.
He had no choice. That's why when because I've tried to tell people, like, the reason why he ended up looking like that was because he couldn't continue wearing dark makeup anymore. He had to wear lighter makeup. You know what I'm saying? People don't want to hear that. People are like, that's bleaching cream. Like, remember, Gloria, I was telling you, I was watching the Jamie Foxx show. Niggas was like, yo, I got the Michael Jackson bleaching cream and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And how, like, you watch Fresh Prince, they talking shit about Michael Jackson. You watch Jamie Foxx show, they talking shit. All these shows were talking shit about this guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
Right. You know,
I don't know.
It's just unfortunate, you know, that he didn't live in a time period where, you know, it wasn't as open or as, you know, accepting as it is now, you know, because like deadass, I was on TikTok the other day, and like there was this guy who basically had a vitiligo as well, and deadass people were saying, oh, you're so beautiful, oh my god, you know, keep doing you, whoever says, you know, talk shit about you, don't listen to them and all that shit. I'm like,
you don't get that luxury. No,
bro, like where was all of that back
do
then,
you guys, Gloria, do you guys remember that album cover that was supposed to be the bad album cover? It was like the picture with like Michael wearing the veil.
Yeah.
And how that was supposed to. So imagine if, let's say, that would have been it. So let's say minus the veil, and then he's just not wearing any makeup, because we don't really know what his face looked like, because every time we saw him, he was, you know, usually wearing makeup. And then even in fact, you go back to Bad era, a lot of times his hands were way darker than his face. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He went up to the Dangerous era as well, you know.
Right, yeah, like 90, 91,
dark.
his hands were like mine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people wouldn't, like I said, it damned if he did, damned that he didn't. It just didn't matter. Because like I said, when you're like I said, the most successful entertainer on the planet, and then on top of that, you're a black man, you do not get certain luxuries, because fucking white celebrities fuck up all the goddamn time. They still here. They still here. I bet you, if there was like a surviving freaking Robert Downey Jr. or a surviving fucking Bob Dylan or Bruce Springsteen, let Bruce Springsteen did the same shit that R. Kelly did, I bet you Bruce Springsteen would still be on tour. He'd still be on tour right now. He would have got a slap on the wrist and that's it. Wesley Snipes, freaking, that wasn't even him. He had a bad accountant that was like dodging taxes and shit like that, or not doing what he was supposed to do. They sent him to jail. You know how many other celebrities were doing the same shit? They didn't go to jail. And these guys weren't half as successful, as influential, and the person that the public figure that Michael Jackson was. Damn, he was more famous than the fucking president. How many artists you know get their whole showcase with the president of the United States twice at that time, hanging out with the president?
That's like mad rare.
You don't see that. That's because how big he was. So I'm like, yo, if I'm the president, I want people to like me, especially Ronald Reagan. Black people hate. See, that's another reason why black people didn't like fucking Michael Jackson, because he was hanging out with Ronald Reagan, Reaganomics and shit. Like, black people did not like Ronald Reagan. So now you hanging out with him, it was over. Right. 1984 was it wasn't the year that we would like to believe it was. You know, beneath the surface, like surface level, yeah, it's freaking monumental. The victory tour, blah blah blah, but underneath the surface, it's just mad fuckery, yo, that literally could have been avoided. So
big facts.
Absolutely.
So on a much lighter note, I wanted to ask you guys what your favorite albums were. So I guess we'll have that kind of quick conversation about your favorite albums and your. So I guess we get ended off with what's your favorite album and why, and what's your favorite tour and why, and then we'll pretty much wrap it up from there.
All right. I guess Gloria can go first.
Gloria.
Oh, me. Well, originally it was Off the Wall, but I'm gonna have to say Invincible now.
I knew it.
Just because I feel like it's more hip hop, it's more R&B. You know what I'm saying? And that's just more of my vibe.
More contemporary.
Right, it's gonna switch again. But originally it was Off the Wall though.
Okay. And your favorite tour? What's your favorite tour?
Take your time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can I pick two?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pick two as well.
Okay, Bad. Okay, I'm gonna say Bad first because of his energy, his spirit. He was just very happy, and I mean, I just felt like he was snapping. He was just innovating, different type of dances every other performance.
This guy, yo.
like I feel like
Oh my
some
God.
of those moves he did, I feel like it was kind of like a random thing, like on site, like, oh, let me just do this move real quick and like incorporate that into the performance.
Yeah.
And then of course history. You know, I gotta throw that in there.
Oh, you said
Because-
history? Oh, okay.
Yes, history. Definitely. Is it history?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's history, right?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was bugging. Yeah, it's history. So that and their history. Mhm.
History.
And history,
All right.
just because of the I like how everything was coordinated. Like it wasn't necessarily focused on vocals. It was more about the choreography of
presentation?
everything. Yes, the whole presentation. You know, he wasn't really focused on his vocals like that, and that was fine, you know, because I enjoyed it, like overall, you know.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Well, for me personally, for my favorite album, I have to say Thriller, because Thriller overall is an album I just can never get tired to. It's an album that I can play any time of the day at any mood, and it'll just make me feel 10 times better. You know, it's kind of like my morning coffee, you know. Sometimes I just like to play a few songs from it, and it just makes my day even better. And it's honestly just like a love letter to music in general. You know, the amount of work they put onto it, you know, really just, it's just like, and it's a beautiful album, you know, and like I said, I just can never get tired listening to it.
Right.
For my favorite tour, I might have to go with tour. I might have to go with two, just like Gloria. Victory and Triumph. For Victory, I mean, that was like the first tour Michael show I actually ever saw.
Really?
And oh my God, yeah, man.
I wish that was the first time I saw Michael. It wasn't.
Yeah.
My first tour was Dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, like I have seen like prior to like Victory, I have seen just like clips of the Dangerous tour, Bad tour, and History tour. But Victory tour was the first show I watched like incomplete from beginning to end, and that whole show to me just literally, oh my God, it gave me the energy, because I think it was around the time period for Thriller, and you know, Thriller is like my favorite album, and you know, just the fact that he did a tour right around that time period, oh my God. It just made me feel so much better. And the dancing was mad unique. Like he was doing dance moves that you never saw him do until, you never saw him do it, after the, Victory tour. So it's just an incredible show, and I loved it to death. For Triumph, I mean, oh my God, the band. Don't even get me started with the band. I think for me personally, the band for the Triumph tour is possibly Michael's best band ever. Like the amount of energy they put on that show, oh my God. Like and each show was different as well, because or at least from each period, because if you want to compare a show from earlier of the tour versus around the end, they sounded mad different. That's what I love about it. And plus you got to see Michael progress a lot more with his dancing, going from a Destiny type Mike to more of the actual Triumph pre-Thriller, type Mike. And I that's what I love so much about the tour as well. And oh my God, just everything about it. And plus the way that Mike wasn't as big as he was from the Victory tour is super refreshing to see, because when I see the Triumph tour, it just feels like Michael's around the same level as all his other brothers, and that's the type of feeling I want to feel whenever I watch some of those shows as well. So that's why I love Triumph so much.
For me, I don't really have a favorite Michael Jackson album. I don't play favorites, but
right.
The reason why I'll say Victory, right, is because Victory makes me feel like a little kid. And what I mean by that is it really like evokes my imagination. So I think about what Victory would have been like if it had been a more like cohesive effort. So it's like I'm like experiencing that by not experiencing that, which is mad weird. Like, because I think about like what One More Chance would have been like if like Jermaine had, had a couple of verses on that, or if you know what I'm saying, or what the Torture video would have been like if Michael was in it. That's the thing. When I made my tribute video, I did that like in a sense where like I'm getting to try to show what it would have been like if Michael was there. You know what I'm saying? Even though he wasn't there, but I'm like, all right, so maybe he would have did this if he was, you know what I'm saying, in this scene or in that scene, or I don't know if you guys know, we talked about The Hurt on the Twitch stream. and how
Oh.
Michael wrote and produced that whole entire song, and then at the last minute was like, Randy, go ahead and sing the song. So when I listened to that, like I literally tried to like envision Michael's vocals on that. So it makes me appreciate like the whole entire album a lot more if it was what it could have and should have been. So, you know, and that Victory just makes me feel what Thriller, Bad, and Dangerous really don't. You know what I'm saying? Like that album goes the extra mile because it wasn't that. So it just makes my mind just like, all right, so it would have been like this, that. So when I'm hearing like certain songs, it's like I'm hearing Michael on The Hurt, even though he's not on the song. I'm just like imagining that. And
that's a good feeling. Yeah.
And then I don't have favorites, so I can't even say I have a favorite tour. What I will say is that History is actually my least favorite tour.
Yeah, same here.
It is.
It is for a lot of guys, I would say. Yeah.
Well, you know why? Like I'll say what comes to mind. What I don't like about it is Smooth Criminal, right? And I love Smooth Criminal. I just think that like I would have told Michael like we don't need all them dancers on stage. Like get the same, you know, four of the guys, 5 guys, right, and then just leave it at that. Because I think that was the first time that he had like, you know, not that there's anything wrong with women or none of that, but that's when you start to see all the girls on stage in the high heels and shit. And I'm like, what are they doing there? Like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, get them on stage. Like get them off the stage. Get them out of here. And you know what I'm saying? I like I said, I still like it because I love the intro to the tour. I like how he ends it. You know what I'm saying? I love all of that. But Victory, here's my problem with Victory, right? Jackie wasn't there. That's very apparent for me. So basically just the fact that Jackie wasn't there, because all Jackson's choreography is Michael, Marlon, and Jackie. Like that's like the whole, that's their package deal.
Yeah.
Him not being there, yeah, Michael, you know, was gonna hold a lot of the load, but Jackie not being there, there's just something missing. And Randy doing it, Randy's not a dancer. Like Randy can't dance. Like he can do a little bit, but you know, nah. But I guess I could probably say, you know, the best one in my opinion, I don't have a favorite, but I'll say the best one to me is Bad, because I think that was Michael Jackson really having, you know, full control over everything. The presentation was at like its peak, because Beat It, they didn't do the Beat It choreography on the Victory Tour. They didn't do it. He did a little bit at the Toronto show with Marlon, but they didn't do it after that. You know what I'm saying? So with, you know, Bad Tour, you get to see him, you know, do, you know, Beat It. Thriller, obviously, because Victory Tour, he didn't perform Thriller either. You know? So I think with Bad, he gets to, you fill in a lot of gaps that you don't with, you know, Victory Tour.
Right.
I think that's about it. So, yeah, any last words of where people can find you at on social media?
I guess I'll go first. Y'all can find me both on YouTube and Instagram on Nightline84. You can just type it down, you'll find me. Yeah.
And you can find me on Instagram at King of Pop Radio and on YouTube at Gloria Ellis.
Cool. So I hope you guys made it to the end of this video. I hope you learned something new. I hope it was fun for you guys watching it. I definitely want to thank you guys for joining me on this podcast. You know, got to listen to me rant. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you guys taking the time out your day to
for sure
come in, hang out with your boy, talk about some Michael Jackson. And I will extend extra thanks to Gloria, because you're actually the first woman on my podcast. I've had 10 episodes. Yeah, I've had 10 episodes, and it's a Black woman at that. It's a Black queen at that. So, you know, yeah, so it's about time that a woman bless my podcast. So I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Most definitely. And I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.
All right.
Good luck.